Hello, everybody. Today I'm taking you on a small tour of some of the final resting places of a lot of famous people. This is the jackpot of cemeteries for famous people, especially Old Hollywood Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale. Here at Forest Lawn, there are over 335,000 people interred, including some of your favorite actors and actresses of yesteryear, which we'll take a look at. The first grave we're going to look at is the grave of Bette Davis. Bette Davis has over 100 acting credits. She was the recipient of 2 Academy Awards and the first thespian to ever get 10 Best Actress nominations. So, fasten your seatbelts, everybody. We're going to look at the grave of Bette Davis. Bette Davis actually died in France in October 1989. Her body, of course, was then moved over here to Forest Lawn Hollywood Hills Cemetery because this is the tomb that she actually designed. She lays to rest next to her mother Ruthie and her sister Bobby. Her name, of course, is in the larger type size, and she was the celebrity. Her tombstone says she did it the hard way. She did come here once in an interview, and she actually said this is where she was going to be, and she pointed out to that direction saying look at the view that she was going to have. And supposedly that statue is of Beatty, her daughter. So that is the rumor. I don't know if it's true, but this is her grave. So kind of reminiscent to Marilyn. As you could see, there are some lipstick marks, which are pretty interesting. And very famous and well known that she had this engraved saying that she did it the hard way. So there you go. Charles Laughton is the next person that we're looking at. He was an English stage and film actor. He was actually married to Elsa Lanchester for a while, and who he lived and worked with until he died. He is laid to rest here in the same area of Bette Davis. He can also be remembered for directing things like the Caine Mutiny Court Martial and Don Juan in Hell. So he is an old film star, and he is remembered here at Glendale's Forest Lawn Cemetery. Clyde Beatty is definitely not one of the biggest names in here. He was a famed animal trainer, though, and really big in his day. He also owned 4 circuses, including his own Clyde Beatty Circus from 1945 to 1956. This is why he has a lion on his tombstone. Louis Allen Rawls, or Lou Rawls as we all know him, was an American singer, songwriter, actor, voice actor, and even record producer. He had 60 albums, and he sold over 40 million records. He's here, and you'll never find another grave like his. Have a look. And the next celebrity grave that we're stopping at is Andrew Roy Gibb. Andy Gibb was, of course, an English singer, part of the Bee Gees, that beautiful song, I Just Want to Be Your Everything, in 1977. He unfortunately died 5 days after his 30th birthday while attempting a comeback. He is laid to rest and remembered here at Forest Lawn as well. Next up, we have Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds, a mother and daughter team. They died a day apart, if you remember, quite tragically. We remember Carrie Fisher for being Princess Leia of Star Wars, and her mother, of course, starring in many movies and musicals. They died a day apart, and they had a funeral at the same time and even a burial at the same time, so they are sadly laid to rest together in eternal peace, hopefully, and may the force be with them. Michael Clarke Duncan was an American actor also known for his breakout role as John Coffey in The Green Mile. He was nominated for an Oscar, and he also is remembered for Armageddon, The Whole Nine Yards, Scorpion King, Daredevil, Talladega Nights, Kung Fu Panda, and he was actually engaged to Omarosa from The Apprentice. And here he is laid to rest as well.
That's really sad. That looks like a little kid who wrote that.
Ronnie James Dio, or simply Dio, was an American heavy metal singer-songwriter, best known for Elf, Rainbow, Black Sabbath, Dio, and of course Heaven and Hell. He has a beautiful crypt here at Forest Lawn. Sandra Dee started her career actually as a child model, and then she earned a Golden Globe as one of the year's most promising newcomers in Until They Sail. She unfortunately died of kidney disease brought on by a lifelong struggle with anorexia nervosa. Rest in peace, Sandra Dee. Our next visit is to Mr. Showmanship himself, the late great Liberace. Liberace was actually the highest paid entertainer of his day at his time. He was also obviously known to be extraordinarily extravagant and flamboyant. We wouldn't expect less of his grave, as you could see. There's a grand piano on it, and of course, he is behind that grand piano and behind that candelabra. Rest in peace, Liberace. Next up is Lucille Ball, one of my most favorite entertainers of all time. This one is a very interesting story as far as Forest Lawn goes. Lucille Ball was cremated upon her death, and her remains were interred at Forest Lawn. However, those remains were moved to Jamestown, New York. So as you enter in here, I'm going to show you where her remains used to be. They used to be in the wall here, and they're in that white little unmarked area right over here. And I'll show you how it looked when it was marked when her remains were actually there. Remember, they're not there anymore. But here is how her engraving looked while it was there in that little area I showed you. Pretty interesting, right? So there you go. And next we've got Wheezy from the Jeffersons. Isabel Sanford has been laid to rest, and her grave is really interesting because it actually has her signature and it says Wheezy on it. So she has moved on up to heaven. Rest in peace, Isabel Sanford. Next stop is Freddie Prinze. Freddie Prinze was a stand-up comedian, and he was also known for his work in Chico and the Man. He's also the father of Freddie Prinze Jr. He is laid to rest also here at Forest Lawn Cemetery. So there are two main entrances to Forest Lawn. This is the larger, I guess more fancy entrance where Michael Jackson is, and some of the other stars are where the museum is and the Great Mausoleum is. And as we walk over into this little courtyard, we walk and stumble upon a very little private, beautiful area. Here is the resting place of Walt Disney, one of the most beloved icons of entertainment. Walt Disney is, of course, interred here as well. So we definitely wish him a nice, peaceful rest in this beautiful garden area, sectioned off here at Forest Lawn Memorial Park, Glendale. I think one of the most romantic graves here is that of George Burns and Gracie Allen. As you can see, it says together again. Well, Gracie Allen died before George Burns died, and George Burns would always go there and pay his respects to her and sit right on that little bench right there. And he would sit there and talk to Gracie for quite a while. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to show you proof in just a second of George Burns sitting right there, as you could see, overlooking his wife's grave until he was interred. Next up is Nat King Cole, one of America's most beloved singers. Nat King Cole actually is right near the Gracie Allen and George Burns grave. And there he is interred with his wife. And another star of yesteryear, Alan Ladd, also in that same little area where Nat King Cole and George and Gracie Burns were in. Here is his beautiful tomb with his signature on it. The Great Mausoleum at Forest Lawn is probably one of the most exclusive places to be. In there, behind locked doors, you can't even get into their area, is Michael Jackson and even Elizabeth Taylor. Interestingly enough, Elizabeth Taylor was supposed to be at Pierce Brothers Westwood Memorial, but she moved over to this location knowing that she wanted to be near her good friend Michael Jackson. Well, I certainly hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to click subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Stay safe, everyone, and thanks so much for watching.